I'm Guy Shalem. I'm a writer, producer, director, work in Hollywood, California. You know, I gravitated. I grew up in Israel, and in Israel, there's not a lot of. Well, when I grew up, there wasn't a lot of storytellers, and you know, given the situation that the Middle East is in eternally, my escapism was the cinema. So I would, as a kid, I would run and spend hours watching TV and watching movies over and over again. That I felt like I had the need to do that when I grow up, to grow up into being a storyteller. And it's been an interesting journey of figuring out how and where and what medium, especially when the world keeps being reinvented. The world of storytelling keeps being reinvented. The short answer is I still don't. Like, there's no, I don't think any, I think that in our business, nobody 100% fits in. It's a process of like what you discover as a storyteller about the stories that you want to tell is things that you discover about yourself. So your own evolution is reflected in your work, and I think that which is why, like a lot of filmmakers that work I admire, has grown with them, you know, has evolved with them. And I think essentially, that's the only reason I did Rex, which is the project we were talking about earlier, is because I was kind of fed up with the weird world of publicity, and I wanted to kind of make fun of it without making fun of it. Like, how does it work? Is it possible that it's not as genuine as people think? And so, essentially, you know, a storyteller is you follow the stories that interest you, and then you find interesting ways of telling it.
Was there opportunity for you to start storytelling in Israel, or did you wait till you came to the States?
I started. So I fell onto this by when I was 14. My mom bought me a VHS camera, which was back in the day, right? And it was really exciting. We saved up for like something that cost, I think, $30 today, and not even, they'll give it up for free, and I started making little shorts, little films, and then when I was 16, a producer in Tel Aviv saw it for music videos, and asked me if I'd be interested in doing a music video. I then went on to producing something on spec. He saw it, was really intrigued, gave me some money. Back then it was, I think it was like $2-3 grand to shoot what appeared to me like an infinite budget. It was, and I shot a music video that won the music video director as me. The title is 17, music video director in Israel, which I did not expect. I didn't even submit that video. I didn't think it's worthy of. So all of a sudden I saw success, and I was going, oh my God, I might be good at this. So I started trying to find a job as a commercial director, and doing other music videos. And then I realized I'm exhausting my options in Israel. There was not a very big industry at the time, and I moved here when I was 18. Started editing. Editing taught me that I knew nothing about storytelling, and it's back to the drawing board. And spent 6 years editing a lot of commercials, a lot of documentaries, short films, and gave up directing. Didn't think I have it in me. And then when I was 25, the guy who my employee. Showed me a piece of a reality show presentation and said, you know, we're pitching a reality show idea. Would you be interested in following these guys around the rodeo circuit? It was the rodeo show. Like, they wanted to do a show behind the scene of the rodeo circuit. Following them, and then we can pitch it as a reality show about the guys working the rodeo circuit, you know, the behind the scene. And my gut reaction was that I'm not going to follow these real people. Like, it's not that, it's going to take a while to wait for it. Let's bring actors, put cowboy hats on them, and pretend like they're cowboys, and create the drama and manipulate the drama, and then cut it into real footage of rodeo guys. And that's really how I discovered the style of working with improvisational storytelling and drama. It depends on the project. There have been projects where like Family Style, we scripted the whole thing. I mean, we did go off page, but it was, I would say, 70 to 80% scripted. Rex was 80% script, 80% improvised and 20% scripted. So it depends on what the project calls for, and it's also a decision that you make on set. If you see that the actors, I know a lot of brilliant actors that when you give them lines, they're not as brilliant. It's kind of odd. And then some that are terrible improvisers, and then really good when you give them a script. So it's a different. I think as a director, your responsibility is to adjust or assimilate to whatever the actors need. And if some, like I know for a fact that Woody Allen hands his sides at the end of every day to the actors working on the whatever movie he's working on, and saying, read it overnight. I wrote it last night. I don't like it. Throw everything I wrote and do it yourself. And I kind of think that it's a wonderful way of engaging the actor to become a storyteller, like you know, and contribute. I've directed projects that were somebody else's, like the NBC thing I did with Betty White. She wouldn't improvise, and surprisingly, because she's actually quite talented, but she wanted a very strict script, so we every line was on a beat. Yeah, so it depends on what the actor wants. My objective is to pull as much out of the actor as possible. If that means giving them the breathing room to open up and show all their colors, then who am I to stop them? What difference does it make? We're shooting on digital, and if the scene can take 10 minutes longer and he can show me that's different takes, wonderful. I get, like, a lot of my favorite jokes on Love Spring came through completely spontaneous decisions made by the actors that nobody even thought about. Well, to be honest, the industry kind of intimidated me when I was in my 20s. I had a lot of friends who were incredibly successful, and I didn't think I have what it takes to understand the politics of it all. So I did everything in my power to prolong the process of actually becoming a working director. I wanted to stay an editor for a while. I did some shorts. They had to pull me kicking and screaming, and it happened when another spec that I did for a reality show, and again I coached the actor, got sold, and they offered me a deal at Fox. It was a really nice deal, and I took it and started developing projects, and you have this guy who basically agrees to write you blank checks, saying you can produce anything you want, think outside the box, all the edgiest things you want to do. We'll give you the money to do it, and we'll put it on the air. So you get all these promises. I say, yes, we're going to get it on the air. And of course, what happens in the process of working in the studio is that you take initiative, you create a lot of original stuff. Then the guys, your employees, get excited. They show it to their bosses. They're immensely excited. They think it's genius. They show it to the head of the network, and they're like, this is way too unique, too ahead of its time. You get it's a little ahead of its time. The audience is not ready for it. And especially during a time where reality shows haven't broken out. And I must have done, I swear to God, close to like 50 pilot presentations like Rex, or that didn't see the light of day. The ones on my website are like selected few. But I had projects set up at NBC and ABC, and it was always the guy who's like, he's doing something really original, but we don't quite know how to market it. So the interesting thing is, like, I did shows like Modern Family, literally 10 years before Modern Family. It's just that I wasn't a big showrunner. I wasn't a known showrunner. I didn't quite see myself as a writer at the time, because I wasn't writing dialogue. I would work off of a beat sheet. And I gave him the result, but the process, the production model was very confusing. So on one hand, you're facing this entity that wants it to be cookie-cutting process that they're familiar with. On the other, they love the work. They're intrigued, but they don't know how to replicate it because it kind of happens in my head. And they want to duplicate it. They don't know how. And then what happens is this whole system of turning something into what it's not originally. So they would take ideas, bring in all these other showrunners or writers or producers who would then try to mold it into something it's not. We used to have a joke I worked for a division called Fox Lab. It was a think tank. It was a laboratory of ideas. And I was their first hire. And the joke passed around the lab was, you know what a camel is? It's a horse designed by executives. But that's what, and then they would pull all these camels on the air that didn't last a season. And then, and you wanted to do, but they wanted horses. They loved the horses. They wanted horses on the air. Horses will get them the money and the success. But then they would end up all these camels and like, well, what happened? And so that was the process anyway. So that's a lot of what we suffered from as children. But now we're bitter and jaded. I was in complete panic. So when I actually got a show on the air was after 4 years of doing so many pilots. Eventually I moved into another division at Fox called Fox Television Studios, and they were wanting me to do dramas. They wanted me to do like edgy dramas, and then one in particular drama was at ABC, and my contract was up for renegotiation. So there was a loophole where Jack Plotnick, which I know you know, approached me and said, "Let's do a comedy. Do a comedy. There's all these like comedies coming out now, done in this style." And he introduced me to a bunch of his friends, and Love Spring was really my first comedy spec. I met Wendy McLennan-Covey and Jack Plotnick and Sam Pancake and Jennifer Cox, a lot of really talented actors, and we got together for a day. We had an office setting. I think I came up with a concept 2 weeks before we shot this presentation. I wanted to do something about a dating service, and we kind of molded it as we went. So it was like, this is an interesting idea. No, you shouldn't be the assistant. You should be secretary, because if you're stuck behind the desk, then it's interesting. And like you create that freedom that essentially is what they wanted me to have at Fox. Only I could only have it if I'm doing it on my own pocket, independently, outside of the system. So, and I had money then, so I invested my own money into this. We shot it independently. It was in between contracts. They didn't own it. And when Eric McCormick saw it, he was blown away. I was like, this has to be on the air. So he's the one that actually ultimately took it to the networks and convinced, I think Showtime wanted at the time, and Lifetime were really hungry for something like this. And we sold it and got a series order. And then what? Like, how do you turn those into other episodes? So they brought in another showrunner, and who was great, and we got along. And there was still the same process with Lionsgate, who was our production company, who was very supportive. I mean, Lionsgate was very supportive. Lifetime, half of it was very supportive. The other half didn't get it. They were trying to figure out how to control the process, when in reality the process had to be organic, had to be done the way we did the presentation tape, which is like, if there's an issue, you figure it out, you reinvent it on the fly. You don't have to, everything has to be pre-planned, pre-thought. And I have so many examples from Love Spring I can share, but it's up to you. Actually, and this was a dream of mine, being that Alien was my favorite movie growing up, and Indiana Jones and Aliens, and Alien, the first one, and Veronica Cartwright. I don't know if anybody remembers. I'm too old. Do you know? Yeah. Okay. She was extraordinarily she was so excited about doing a comedy. She's been put in all these dramas. So she played the role of Jane Lynch in the presentation tape. We sold it with Veronica Cartwright. I still have the presentation tape somewhere. And I don't know if she was unavailable, or it was too small, we couldn't afford her, she wasn't funny. There was some issue for Lionsgate. In comes a whole barrage of amazing improv actresses to replace her. We bought her out, and then Jane ultimately won the role. But I think we got to see some incredible like actresses. It was great, and Jane, as she says in the book, there's her biography, Happy Accidents. There's a whole chapter on Love Spring and my relationship with her. She too did not understand the concept, the concept and the process. She hated the process. In fact, we're best friends now, but back then she's not afraid to say in the book, like, I couldn't stand me and the process. Like, it was confusing. She had no idea where this is going. It was kind of asking the actors to surrender to the randomness of it all. And I think that once she saw, she says that in the book, once she saw the first cut, it turned from hater to absolute groupie. Like, she would do anything I tell her to do. She would follow scripts that she would even like turn scripts upside down at the last minute, and became like a creative force of nature. And in episodes that we didn't even know how we're going to end, she came in with ideas and took the reign. So if anything, she went from somebody who doesn't get the process to completely in love with it and embracing it and contributing to it tremendously. It was a pleasure to work with her. Well, first of all, I took a lot of responsibilities because it was a huge door opener for me, and to be honest, I didn't take advantage of it. I was thrown. I signed with a really big agent. I was like represented by probably one of the biggest TV agents in town, and he was throwing me in front of a lot of producers, and big networks executives who I just didn't know how to sell to. Like, it was almost coming off beat down by a process where you have to fight for every joke and fight for every scene, and then you're asked to describe it again in the room to executives who weren't there, like who didn't show up on set, who didn't, and I didn't do good at that. I didn't perform. I don't think I performed well, and I didn't capitalize on the opportunities I had to take it to the next level, to do a show just like it. So I think I intentionally wanted to work outside the system a little bit. I left my deal with Fox. I started, and I think Rex was the result. I traveled the world a little bit, and then Rex was the result of me saying, you know what, let's get back on the horse and do something independently the way I like to work. And I was surprised because of the credits that I've accumulated over the years and some of the actors I got to work with. So many incredible actors rolled up their sleeves and said yes to doing this thing for essentially no money.
Let's talk about Rex. So for some of the viewers who haven't watched it yet, we'll put up a link to your website on this video. Just so I'm aware, before we continue, Rex is really what came after? Anything in...
There might have been, I know. There must have been. No, there has to have been. I have to think about it. I know there's another pilot I directed for Fox that I did not create, called Monsters Under the Bed or something like that, but that didn't go. Yeah, I have to look at my, because a lot of times, a lot of times I would do projects because friends wanted to me to direct something for them, or I'm usually pretty much of a yes. If I have the time, why not? Simon Rex has a true story. He was not a child star, but he started in his teens. It was very, very talented guy, very charismatic. Had the trajectory to become the next big thing. I personally thought he had it all. He was, and I forgot his credits, but I think he was on Felicity, and he was on a bunch of shows, and then he did Scary Movie. He had a big enough credits, but I think at some point in his career, he help me how to say this. There was a pornographic tape that he was involved with, and quite innocent actually. There was no, and it tainted how Hollywood views him, and I think he lost his deal with Disney. and he was gone. Not gone. He did bit roles, but like the fast escalation his career was going took a detour. And when I met him, he was working on short little videos as a character called Dirt Nasty. So Dirt Nasty is a spoof, and he has a huge following. He's got millions of people following him. He teamed up with a bunch of rapper, and they kind of make fun of rap, but not really. I mean, the songs are catchy. The songs work, so you enjoy listening to them. There's one song I think called "My Dick." Are you gonna bleep? Okay. There's one that has like tens of millions of views. So he wanted to do something about this character who once was like a known actor who's now doing this Dirt Nasty character, and the behind the scene of a white rapper. Something he felt like there's something there. And I said, look, as a gay man, I did not know about your Dirt Nasty character. I love him sitting it in front of him at King's Road Cafe, and I opened up and I wanted to see if we actually can jive as people. And I said, I don't know about the Dirt Nasty, but if you want to make fun of something, I have to make fun of something that I know. I have, in fact, seen your video. So I feel like we get to know each other intimately. And and I said, would you be willing to make fun of that? No. My parents, my representation have all been trying to bury this story for 15 years. Like, what do you mean bury it? Like, 15 years, every gay friend, everyone I know, have seen this. Like, it's an iconic kind of tape. Let's make fun of it. But let's make fun of it in a way that spins it on its head. Let's suggest that maybe the tape was actually a helpful device to get you a job, not something that destroyed your career. So let's confuse people as to what is the reason that your career went awry. Awry or array? Awry. Huh? And he agreed, and I was shocked when he said that. And I said, let's make a show about how publicity is ever changing, and how I brought up at the lunch the example that Paris Hilton became famous because of a very suspicious tape that leaked to the media. And I felt like, well, what if he didn't leak, but he was kind of an arranged, and I think at that point he was completely on board. And we started calling everyone we knew to see if they'll be willing to be in it. And we did this really cool pilot. That's actually my favorite pilot I've ever done. I think that ultimately, in our search as storytellers, we find that truth is the only thing that doesn't age. The only reason I think that I'm still a fan of a lot of Woody Allen movies that have held up for 30 or 40 years is because they're honest. They're truth. They're true. You can hate him or love him. I hate a lot of his movies. I know a lot of people hate a lot of his movies. They're honest. Annie Hall still holds up today because the performance, the writing, the situation, the awkwardness. I bet you that Seinfeld will still hold up as one of the few TV shows that holds up for 20, for 30 to 40 years because he was honest. It was honest comedy. It was written by honest people. It was performed by honest people. So I think that ultimately what attracts actors is honesty. I think that actors want to get involved in material that makes them feel like, wow, this is gonna make me feel like this is gonna show what I'm really about, not a regurgitated, processed version of me that is plastered with makeup and I want to and which is why you see, look at McConaughey. What does he do? Like he has the looks. He's got the career, he's a huge star. He loses like 400 pounds. He looks like a skeleton, so he can give us an honest performance in a movie that, in my opinion, it's not that like incredible of a story. It's just that it's so honest. So we eat it up. And the same thing for Jared Leto. It's like they're all so honest. So I think that actors are attracted to material that is honest, which is why in the past I was able to. Paris Hilton didn't want to do it. I had to sit down with her several times and just go, trust me, this is not going to be the baby talk, Paris. It's going to be the real you. And she said, I'm intrigued, but what do you mean? I was like, we're going to work with you. We're going to pull something out of you that people haven't seen before. And she responded to that. And I think that that's what a lot of actors respond to. I think some bloggers. It was the age of the bloggers where they were starting to dig up material that stands out on the internet and write an article. And we were interviewed by a bunch of different bloggers. Even the New York Post wrote. I think it was the first New York Post wrote about it. And a raving. You can still find it if you put Rex and New York Post and raving review about it. And I think people just took interest. And people were calling Showtime to insist that they put it on the air. It was kind of, but again, there's that dichotomy of like, you do something outside the system. Is the system going to want to embrace it, or did the system just want things that it develops? Like, so that was an interesting study of what happens when you go viral. Again, it's good and bad. It's so random how our business works, and there's so much luck involved that, I can't just say that it's just the system is, and it's, I partially I think that it's probably, I know that MTV optioned it for a while, and it was tested, and a lot of kids felt like that Simon might be too old for MTV. I know, but he was in his 30s, and like they like to watch kids in their 20s, and he still looks great, and he's sexy, and the storylines are great, but it's too, they might not want to follow a 34-year-old protagonist. And there's so many variables. I mean, I'm always personally shocked when something goes on the air, but I do think that today would have been a different scenario. We would have we would have found a home that is on one of the other outlets that are opening up daily, almost. The stories of how movies and TV shows happen in this business is always, we all read these stories of like, the script was around for 8 years, or this property was around, and somebody all of a sudden saw it. I was actually developing a project with Oren Pally, who created the Paranormal Activity franchise, and he was not a filmmaker at the time, programmer that became a filmmaker, did this thing over 2 years. A bunch of people in studio saw it, then we're going, this is an interesting concept, let's reshoot it. He sat on it for 3 years. Nobody wanted to touch it because they were waiting for a big director to sign on board so they can reshoot Paranormal Activity, not knowing that it's meant to make billions of dollars worldwide. So they wanted to turn it into a camel. And ironically, he insisted of it being a horse. And it stayed a horse. And it became the biggest franchise on I don't know, since... Well, the cheapest anyway. So I was rep when I got my deal, my Fox deal. It was 2 years before Love Spring, 2.5 years. I was rep by CAA.
Did they help you get the Fox deal?
No, I got it on my own. I got pretty much everything I've done was on my own. I mean, I believe that agents are really good at taking a project that is already finished and to the next level. I rarely hear from any of my showrunner friends or actor friends that this agent got me the job. I mean, what they do is you know how that works. They call you guys, they get what everybody's looking for, and then they send their clients like a herd of cattle, and hoping that one will, and then align themselves with the victorious one in the herd. But it is kind of like, I think now we're kind of like in a world where actors and writers and directors are creating their own projects on their own, in their own, so. I would say get attention. Get somebody's attention. I know it's silly to say, but you have to have a project that stands out. Like you'll never get an agent that actually believes in you until they believe in something that you are capable of doing. Like I've seen, I forgot what's the name of this guy that I got to meet briefly who does like 1,000 faces. Like he's mimics almost every actor in Hollywood. Have you heard of him? Oh my God, he went viral. I mean, there's millions of people watching his video, but that's somebody who got attention. He's very talented too. He can mimic actors to a T. But he made some viral video, and it got millions of views, and now agents are paying attention. So part of it is it's creating your own stuff and getting on the map, getting in front of them. You can't just be unfortunately a pretty face that believes he has talent. You got to stand out with a property that you can show us, and it can be a 2-minute piece. It doesn't have to be. It can be a 5-minute piece. I last year I decided to kind of put aside my grandiose, like I sometimes do these shorts for Outfest or for film festivals, and I decided not to do one with a cast of known comedians. To do one with 2 unknown actors, and told this like love story called Ronnie and I, and it got into Cannes. It was done last year, and I didn't really want to invest any money in it. I also wanted to kind of see my chops as a filmmaker, and it gave me a great answer to give people like you ask me that question. How do you get in front of an agent? How do you get somebody's attention? So here's what I did. I grabbed 2 unknown actors, who, by the way, met with everyone in town after this, grabbed an iPhone, invested $500, and went to shoot a 20 minutes short on my iPhone from a personal diary. I can send you the link. You can take a look. There's trailers online. So now, Bryan Singer, who happens to be a friend, so it's easier, saw it. Bryan Singer puts his name on it. Jane Lynch puts her name on it. We get into Cannes. We get into all these film festivals. And these actors who one has never acted before in anything, has gotten agents and managers and heads of casting, and every network wanted to meet them. They could have shot that on their own with their iPhone. So you can do anything. You can get attention anywhere. So Michael and I, Michael guest starred in Love Spring. Michael McDonald, who I think is quite a brilliant actor, and I loved him since Mad TV. Always been a fan, and he came to me one day and said, let's do a presentation pilot together. Let's try to sell it. And the world that he was excited about is the world of showbiz dads. So what if there's dads who live vicariously through their daughters? And there's a sadness to it. I know. I mean, my issue with Callback is that I can't tell if it's a show that has longevity. I know you actually love it more than me. Like it's kind of, I think it's a good presentation pilot, but I can't tell if this is like a SNL sketch or a show. Like it's hard to. Sometimes you also walk the line. Like I watch a lot of stuff that the Groundlings do or that UCB does, and for the most part, it's really funny, but it feels like it's an SNL sketch, not a show. And whenever I develop something with comedians who the eyes of the town are on and they feel like they're going to explode, and they have tendencies to develop SNL sketches and not, shows. Show you have to go about developing a show differently than developing a sketch. So I think that Callback's downfall is that it's a bit of a sketch, but there is a little bit of a show there. I mean, the relationship between him and his daughter and the wife, and if we can get Wendy now, It's back to my original answer, is that everything that I think is successful in this town, in my opinion, and having watched it on the X-Men scale and on the Callback scale, is that it's relationships. It really is all relationships. The reason those daughters, who, by the way, Michael McDonald did not trust that I'll be able to, like, he didn't think, he wanted to use like a 16-year-old playing 14-year-old, and I thought it's never going to work. She needs to be 10 for the tension to work. So I just hung out with her. Like, we got ice cream, and we talked, and I got to get into the mind of a 10-year-old, and we'd like spend some time with her parents. And I think the fact that Uncle Guy became Uncle Guy, not just that intimidating director, helped her give 100% performance. Like, she's improvising. Some of this is improvised. I'm not kidding. Like, it is amazing. And the older daughter, it's amazing. Like, amazing. I barely had to direct her. Like, she was playing herself. So I think I would say a lot of it is insisting on the right cast, and then making them comfortable, making them want to work with you, making them want to show their colors. Weirdly intuitive. It's kind of like finding my ideas of what I want to do next. It's all. I that's part of my personality that I can't 100% explain. I try to meet as many actors as I can all the time. I even when we cast like bit parts, it seems to be people that I kind of have a relationship or want to work with, and I go, oh, he would be good at that, but let me try to give him this role or that role. Like, it depends on who for what. Like, for me, it's what Christopher Guest does and what Woody Allen does. It's like you have a roster of actors that you think can really do this kind of performance, and then you plug them into a project. I have like 5 I'm eyeing right now that I'm dying to do a project with. Haven't found the right thing, but I'm always, and this is something that I guess I should say to your audience, I'm always interested in meeting new actors who feel like they want to step outside of themselves, like to do something really edgy, really adventurous, really to show the world what they've got, not just like. And there's of course the actors who want to play by the rules and go to auditions, and that's wonderful too. But I'm always interested in like actors who are entrepreneurs, who kind of like, I have an idea, and this is like, and I love passion. I think I completely capitalize on people's passion. So that's my currency. So Michelle Clooney is an actress, has had career, has seen a lot of success. I think from knowing her and a bunch of mutual friends, we all feel like she could be the next Larry David, female Larry David. So now we're trying to think, what are the things about her life that we can twist and turn? Like she was trying to recently considered having a baby maybe, or adopting a baby or something. Like, that's kind of interesting. So you take that and you kind of go, oh, wait, it's a woman that wants to adopt, but then realizes that, oh, I know, I'm going to put it together with 6 other actors, which are really funny, including you, that are going to be like all holding babies that are screaming and throwing up at them. Ooh, that's a funny scene. Michelle wanting to have a baby, now she's looking at you, she's like, oh no, that's not what I want. So that's how Larry David creates scenarios. That's how I like to work. You kind of take the right elements and you put them together in a situation that you know is going to be rich with ideas and moments and awkwardness and you build it backwards. Instead of, this is what I want to do. I want to do that situation. Now I'm going to cast the actors. You kind of think, ooh, this situation will fit really well because I know Michelle's awkward face that she makes when she's uncomfortable, and I know that you can probably make for a really interesting mother with it. Like, you know what I mean? Like that, and then that creates dynamics that are rich, are interesting to watch. I love when actors reach out to me, first of all, like especially if you have something to show or interested in discussing. Or I often volunteer to teach acting classes, and at the end of the class I always say, but that's another crazy. So recently I taught one 3 weeks ago, and I said to everyone in class, add me to Facebook, and if you have anything, only 5 out of the actors in the class, there was a class of 40, added me to Facebook. And like, why? What are you afraid of? Like, it's okay. Just make yourself visible. Make yourself visible. That it's really the big thing that actors have to remember is make something that gets people's attention. Connect with other actors and then shoot something together. Connect with people like me who are playing outside the system or in the system. Don't limit your. Just try to make shit happen. It really is the only way to get people's attention, I think. I think that for me, it was that I let myself for a part in my career, somewhere in my career, let success and the desire for success and fame get the best of me. Like I think that a lot of times I forgot that it's about, and I've seen this with a lot of my friends who are exceptionally successful. You become from a yes person to a no person. And in the no phase, you self-sabotage, you destroy, you self-destruct. You know, don't be a yes person. Just if you have the time, go meet with directors, with writers, with other actors. Try to make stuff happen. It doesn't. I just shot a movie on an iPhone that got into Cannes, that Bryan Singer put his name on it, partially because of my relationship with them, but it's also because it was really good, and it was good because we went out there with an iPhone and we're determined to come back, granted 15 hours of footage later, with 20 minutes of usable footage. And I don't think that any actor in this town should have an excuse when technology like this is available to not do something compelling in the 3, 4, 5, 20-minute medium. You know, do something exciting. Send it to me. I'd love to take a look. I'll tell you immediately if this works or not, or if you need to do it again, or, you know, show your colors, show what you're capable of, show what you're about. What drew us to this town in the first place, if not to be storytellers and to show what we're capable, to get people's attention. So get people's attention. There was a period in my life where I didn't want to touch alcohol. I literally was going completely, and I have to tell you, it was right after. So I did a lot of traveling. I traveled the world. I took myself outside the system, which was actually important sometimes to do. When the system overwhelms you, take yourself outside of it. I went to Africa for 3 months. You can actually see on my Facebook some of my photo albums. Like, went to South America, traveled the world, and you kind of get a perspective on what life is about outside of Hollywood, which is very important for. We tend to think that this is the center of the universe. There's other places in the world where they have real problems. Like we're, you know, oh, we didn't get into the Oscar party. Oh, devastated. Like when in reality it's kind of like, you know, this. I spent time in a tent in Africa where people making like live off $1 or $2 a day, and that's, you kind of get to see that they're actually they were sweeter than I was at the time. Let's just say that. And I think that it is important to get perspective, and I think that whatever it takes to get that perspective will help you in your career. I think that ultimately it's not about. I think that a lot of times we're more self-sabotaging than we care to admit. And my second advice is get into a relationship. I know I have to. You know, I've changed dramatically since I got married. So.